between.
Quiet. Shut up and let me answer, okay?
Answer.
Pot him down, please, because this is another MAGA who doesn't understand how to have a conversation with somebody.
It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
I'm kind of a big deal.
This show will make you laugh, make you cry, and it might raise Brian's blood pressure.
You know what, dude? People like you, all you do is make excuses for the orange turd, and I've had it.
All the smash and grabs and everything. Yeah, tell me, what race is doing that, first of all?
Okay, so you want to be a racist now. Okay.
Race is doing it. Seen it on the news?
I don't watch Klan TV like you do, sir.
Buckle up, because it's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
You're different. I like you.
Now, here's Brian.
All right, what's going on, everybody? A very happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Pushing the Limits, one of the fastest growing shows in the country, and we appreciate you making us a part of your day. Could be watching on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show, and of course on X and the FM AM dial KSHP right here in Las Vegas. We have a jam-packed show lined up for you today. A lot to get to. Antonio Brown has been tweeting at me, and he's accusing me of racism. Yes, that's right. The lifelong criminal himself is accusing me of racism because I call him an illiterate fool. We will get to that. We will read the tweets in the back and forth with Antonio Brown. If you asked me yesterday, would I be getting into a Twitter war with Antonio Brown, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But yes, that's been going on. We'll get to that coming up later on in the program. Liz Chaney touring with Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump still bragging about his French fry making, and much more to discuss. Bill Clinton in Las Vegas today. Looking forward to listening to him. I got credentialed to a J.D. Vance event tomorrow, so we'll see if he's still accusing Haitian immigrants of eating cats and dogs. But without further ado, gosh, I always love having this guy on. He's my favorite follow on social media. Does a great job over there. They all do a great job at Midas Touch. Of course, I'm talking about Ron Filipkowski joining us right now on the show. Ron, always a pleasure to see you and have you on again. How are you, my friend?
Hey, doing well, Brian. You know, talking about Antonio Brown, I'm a Patriots fan, and I remember, you know, when he was cut loose by the Steelers, you know, because he's a maniac, he's a lunatic, and he was, you know, constantly in one controversy after another. And Tom Brady, you know, wanted to sign him badly because they had no receivers at that time, and you know, Antonio was kind of towards his prime, and Belichick didn't want to do it, and Brady just kept bugging him and bugging him and bugging him. And finally, they signed him, and of course, it was a complete disaster.
Yep.
I think he lasted like 5 or 6 weeks or something before they had to get rid of him.
Yeah, so. And by the way, he signed a $100 million contract with the Raiders and never played one game. And I grew up a Patriots fan as well, coming from back east, and I'm with you on that one. That was a complete disaster. Speaking of Antonio Brown, so Ron, I want to get your thoughts on this. So you listened, I'm sure, to his speech, as I did. It was very difficult to listen to. It sounded like he struggled to even read the speech that I'm sure somebody else wrote for him, and he keeps calling Tim Walz Tampon Tim, and I'm sure he doesn't even know what that means. So I called him illiterate. I said he has a lifelong criminal record. He's not very intelligent, and he goes after me and says that I'm going after him because he's black. Yeah. I mean, am I saying things here that have anything to do with the color of his skin, or am I crazy? Because I wasn't. What do you make of that?
Yeah. What is it that you said that he thinks identifies him as black, right? I mean, like, what specifically? No, I mean, it was a dumb. I don't understand, like, the Trump campaign at all. Some of their decisions that they make, like you know, bringing in Hulk Hogan for the RNC, you know, to be the headliner for the first night, and now, you know, they go to Pittsburgh and they bring Antonio Brown up there, who's like. He's not well liked by Steelers fans, and he's certainly not well liked by, like, Eagles fans. I mean, this is supposed to be like how you appeal to Pennsylvania voters is you get like one of the most embarrassing, least popular sports figures, and you bring him back, you know, the guy who you ran out of town because he's a nut job. I mean, there's so many. I'm sure there's plenty of, like, Pittsburgh Steelers legends out there that they could have, that are Republican, that they probably could have dug up. But instead, you know, they're so obsessed with trying to win over the black male vote. And, you know, they just keep thinking like, hey, any black male that is willing to support Trump, who's semi-famous, will put him up on a stage.
Right. And you think of very respected, you know, Emmett Smith, Magic Johnson, Dawn Staley. I mean, the list goes on and on with all the the phenomenal, athletes and retired athletes that have supported Kamala Harris, and you look at who Donald Trump has, it's night and day, so to speak. But, I have to ask you about this McDonald's stunt because you did such a great job covering it, and you guys at Midas Touch. And there are Trump supporters out there that still believe that this was a good, hard day's work for Donald Trump, when, as we know, everything was staged, everything was rehearsed, and he looked like a complete imbecile. Why do these people still believe that the store was even open, let alone him working?
Yeah, we have done this with every Trump event, documented how they're all fake and phony. So you have to look at it sort of in the broader context. Like a lot of the right wingers to push back, because I think my tweet about it, outing it, showing that the store was closed the entire day. So they didn't close it down for like an hour. A lot of right wingers will say, oh, they just closed it for an hour so Secret Service can secure their. It was closed the entire day so Trump could do this. Okay. So there's no customers in there whatsoever. Not only that, the people who were pre-selected, the people who went through the drive-through, they were rabid Trump supporters. They went through and practiced what they were going to say. They basically had scripts. So the whole thing was contrived. And we've showed this with every event. We showed when Trump went to the Harlem bodega, and every person who was not one person there was from Harlem. Every person there that was brought in from the New York Young Republican Club. I mean, the black girl who supposedly ran up to Trump in the Chick-fil-A and gave him a hug, random black girl in Atlanta, was an RNC paid operative. I mean, they do this stuff time and time again, all the time.
And a member of the media at the drive-thru
asked, a car backfire outside my window here.
Oh, that's okay. And a member of the media outside the drive-thru there asked him his thoughts on raising minimum wage. And if you noticed, Ron, he wouldn't even answer the question. He just said, well, these people are great. They're well-liked. He talks about the franchise, but doesn't talk about the actual people getting a spike in pay. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's important in these situations. Both sides are battling to set the narrative. What is going to be the narrative on this particular event? The narrative that they wanted, the Trump campaign wanted, and right wingers wanted was, Trump volunteered to go work a shift at a busy McDonald's, waiting on customers, shows he's a man of the people, right? This is the narrative that they wanted. But we reset the narrative. And so for all the crying and whining that they had, well, no, we're not saying he was actually working a shift. They were trying to say that until we reset the narrative. And the narrative was reset by that question that was asked about minimum wage, and he wouldn't answer it because he's not in favor of increasing the minimum wage. So what he showed is like, hey, I don't really give a crap about McDonald's workers that are making $7.50 an hour in some states. I don't care about them. I mean, so that was one thing. And we also showed that this was completely closed and it was all scripted and phony. And I thought it was very important, because what I've done is I pay a lot of attention on social media to non-political entities, and I can tell you that what they are talking about in these different places that are not political is the fact that it was staged, contrived, and minimum wage. They aren't saying like, wow, isn't it cool that Trump worked the fry machine for 30 minutes?
Right.
Nobody's saying that outside the cult.
Right. And Ron, am I wrong I thought that the franchise actually didn't okay this. Can you give me the details on that? Because I know that specific store was shut down. You're right.
You got my cat here now. Hold on.
Sorry. Oh, that's cool. But is it true that McDonald's didn't actually approve this? What do you know about that?
Yeah, well, so it was the individual franchisee owner. I guess he owns like 5 or 6 of these things, and he's a Trump supporter. And so he had to get clearance, I think, through the national thing. And what they told him, the national office or whatever, and what they told him was, as long as you extend the invitation to everyone, to Harris, to the other candidates, then you can do it. Okay. So I don't know if they understood all the details and how it was going to come off.
Yeah.
But I think that what they were told probably was that, Trump was going to go and make an appearance at one of their McDonald's,
Right.
I don't think that their corporate offices really thought that this was going to be a big thing because, as Michael Jordan once famously said, like, Republicans buy sneakers, right? Huge corporations like this do not want to take sides on political issues or candidates. It's just not in their best interest to do that. McDonald's absolutely does not want to be seen as pro-Democrat or pro-Republican, and certainly not pro-Trump. But the local franchise owners are a different ballgame.
And didn't the stock go down? I correct me if I'm wrong, but you put up like a graph on Twitter, on X, and it looked like their stock pummeled.
Yeah, it was down. I was just looking at it just now today. It's up a little bit today. I mean, I was just having fun with that. It's funny, the right wingers always say that we're so triggered and we're like, that was, I think my post about the store being closed is now like over 20 million views.
Awesome.
And their response is like, cope harder or cry more. It's like, I'm not crying. I'm not coping. I'm not stressed out about this.
Weird.
I'm outing this sham for what it is. So then when I posted the McDonald's stock went down again, I was just having fun. I don't think it went down because of that, but of course they all went nuts again on me, like, just you're like trying to say that the stock went down. I'm like, now who's coping and stressing now? Yeah,
exactly. But
they
if
were
the stock,
telling me to lighten up.
If the stock went up and people were buying a lot of French fries, the MAGA Republicans would say it's because they think Trump is going to win in November. That's why they're buying all these fries. Right. That's what they would say. Ron Filipkowski joining us from Midas Touch. By the way, Ron, I got to tell JD Vance that you're a cat fan. I never knew that. We need to. I might let JD know tomorrow. I did not know that about you.
I'm not a childless cat man, though. I have 5 kids, but they're all grown. But yeah. So he's my kid. He's my kid now. So it's funny whenever I see like the T-shirts now or the signs, the childless cat ladies for Harris. There's a neighbor across the street has a sign that says that. I always go up to him and say, I'm actually the guy who started that, and and they just look at me like, what? What are you talking about?
That's so cool.
I love that. They don't really know who I am, so.
They will soon. They will soon. Most people do know who you are. I wanted to ask you about this too. God, it's like every day it's something new with this guy, but this Arnold Palmer stuff, right? I mean, I'm a big golf fan. I had the chance to meet Arnold Palmer. Decent, good man. Don't care whether he was a Republican or Democrat. Yeah. He was a decent, good man and a legend of the game, right? Nice family.
Character.
Yeah, exactly. He was great with the fans, just a decent man. And Trump makes these comments about his genitalia. And then his daughter's been doing interviews saying, her father was not a big Trump guy and hated the hateful rhetoric because they're decent people. And I'm thinking to myself, what is going through Donald Trump's mind when he starts talking like that? Does he think that's actually going to help him? Does that make him look good, Ron? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's funny because I do talk to a lot of the sports, a lot of the national sports broadcasters and stuff do follow me on Twitter. Like Rich Eisen and Rick Riley and people like Rick Riley wrote the book on Trump cheating at golf, and a bunch of others too. And one of them DM'd me a story that basically like Arnold Palmer said that he saw personally on the golf course Trump cheat, and he said that was the moment that he knew that Trump was somebody he wanted nothing to do with, because he said, if you're going to cheat at golf, if you're going to cheat me at golf, he wasn't playing Palmer, but Palmer probably. Trump used to do a lot of those pro-am things. That's where he met Stormy Daniels at a pro-am in Vegas. I think it was Vegas. So, he used to do a lot of those until he stopped doing them because he can't cheat at those things, without getting caught. And plus they would always post the results and he would always finish like 123rd out of like 130 people. And that would humiliate him. So he stopped doing the pro-ams. But Palmer said he personally saw him cheat and never liked him from that point forward. Said he could never trust him. But yeah, Palmer is just a good guy. Contrast that with Jack Nicklaus, by the way, who's like gone just all in the tank for Trump. It's just sad to see what Nicklaus has become in his later years.
I was just going to say that Jack Nicklaus has defended Donald Trump ad nauseum and turned into a pretzel. I don't know if you play golf, Ron, but I feel like the way you behave and act and conduct yourself on the golf course is usually the way you behave and act in life. For example, if you cheat on the golf course, you're going to be a cheater in real life. If you replace your divots and you show, the others in the group respect, then usually that's the way you're going to live your life as well, as an honorable person. If you're throwing your clubs, then you're probably going to be a sore loser. And if you're competitive on the golf course, you're going to be very competitive in real life. I mean, I've heard these back and forth over and over again. And I remember I once interviewed Oscar De La Hoya, who used to play golf with Donald Trump. This is when he was running in 2016. And De La Hoya told me the guy cheated every hole. Every hole he would cheat. And I just feel like there's something to that. The way you act on the golf course and conduct yourself is the way you live your life.
Yeah. One more story about that he supposedly won his 23rd club championship at Doral, right on his own course this past year. Right. And by the way, Trump hasn't played golf since the one incident at his golf course where the guy was in the bushes. Hasn't played one round of golf since. And he went from playing 5 days a week to he hadn't played a round of golf in a month and a half, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, in that round, I was following that tournament because Trump was behind. And keep in mind, this is not the senior club championship. This is the club championship where there's 35-year-olds, and this is at Doral, which is a PGA course. I've played it. It's a very difficult, legit course, right? Yeah. So Trump was down 3-4 strokes going into the final round on Sunday, and he miraculously shoots a 67. He had been averaging 78 or something like that. So he pulls out 11 shots better than his previous day's score. A 67, a 78-year-old man shooting a 67 on a PGA caliber course.
No chance.
No way.
Zero
chance. He wins by one shot. A miracle, right?
No chance. There's zero chance. And I've seen his golf swing, by the way. It looks very similar to Charles Barkley's golf swing.
He's a terrible putter, by the way. He's a worse putter than he is a swinger.
I will take a page from Joe Biden's playbook, though. I'd love to see him walk just 9 holes. Let's see if he could do that. I've looked at his physique lately. Remember when he takes off the jacket at McDonald's, and you had said something funny. The last place where Donald Trump should be is in a McDonald's. Don't you find it interesting? And you tweeted about this, how Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is talking about how we have to elect, I'm paraphrasing here, we have to elect Donald Trump because he cares about the health and the nutrition of people in America. And while he's doing this, Donald Trump is in McDonald's.
Yeah. And, interesting footnote to that is that Trump was supposed to do a big event with RFK today which was called Make America Healthy Again. This was supposed to be their one and only joint event that they had scheduled together. And Trump canceled the event. No word was given as to why, but we were joking that RFK was pissed off about him making the French fries. If that's true, that would be very funny. I want to ask you about that, Ron, your thoughts on all these cancellations. He had a meeting with the NRA, an event that was canceled. Of course, he canceled 60 Minutes. He's not debating Kamala Harris again. He's canceling all these events. And then the campaign said it's because he's tired. Now that might very well be true. He's 78 years old. He probably is tired. Do you believe the campaign, or do you think he's throwing in the white flag? Why do you think he's canceling all these events? It's strange. His schedule is just so chaotic right now. It's changing hourly. He adds events, he takes events off. It's almost like they didn't really have a plan for the stretch run here, and they're kind of making shit up as they go along. He was doing a Latinos for Trump event in Miami today. It's Miami's not, Florida's not really in play. What do you do? You're spending all morning, and then he's doing Madison Square Garden on the final Saturday, spending God knows how much money to rent Madison Square Garden and he can't fill that. He claims that it sold out in 3 days. But what it did is all these, trolls that are on the left that signed up for tickets that are not going to go. So he thinks it's sold out. I'd be shocked if he fills half of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? We've talked about this before. Why would you spend all that money and be in a state where you literally have no chance to win? Why is he doing that? What is the reasoning behind it?
It's just the ego. It's sort of like him going to Coachella. He just wants to brag about. I think the Coachella thing was he wanted to brag that he had more people at the music festival, which he then did, and he claimed he had 100,000 people there, and then he of course abandoned them all in the desert. But I think the Madison Square Garden really goes back to him growing up in New York in that area, and the Garden being so iconic. And I think he's attended many boxing matches there over the decades. And I think the prospect of himself being a star at Madison Square Garden and having the crowd cheer him is just something that his ego cannot resist. The New York people, the New York Republicans have been bugging him to do this Madison Square Garden event for like 2 years. And so it makes no sense. I think finally somebody just got into his ear that he listened to. But like Harris is going to Texas to do an event with Allred this week. But, there's multiple reasons for that, but she's not trying to win Texas.
Right.
She's trying to do other things with that event.
Sure.
But I have no idea what Trump's trying to do with Madison Square Garden because it's expensive. And he's not going to win New York, of course. He's not raising any money by doing it.
Right.
I don't get it.
Last question, Ron. We're now officially 2 weeks out. It's amazing how time flies. What are your senses here on where we're at compared to maybe where we were a month ago or last time that we spoke? Because I'm sensing that, it's a coin flip right now. I think it's an absolute coin flip. I don't know who has the advantage. I really don't. You're deep in this thing. I mean, what is your sense right now, especially with these battleground states?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that we're not going to win Georgia. Harris is not going to win North Carolina. I think Arizona, a lot of the Republicans are saying that like they've already got Arizona in the bag in the early. The problem because the thing is Gallegos is polling. He's going to destroy Carrie Lake. He's polling like 10 points above her.
Right.
But Harris is polling 3 points down, and their abortion petition is on the ballot. So you'd think like Harris should be, and Biden won Arizona last time. And so you'd think Arizona, that should be a Harris pickup. But what I am hearing from my friends in Arizona is that the border is a major issue in Arizona, and it's really hurting Harris there. So it's like, it's Nevada, Michigan, and Pennsylvania is going to decide it, and whoever wins 2 out of those 3 is going to win it. I know Republicans are very confident they're going to win Nevada. You probably know that better than I do. And they think it's all going to come down to Pennsylvania. That's what they think.
I tend to agree with them. I'm not feeling very confident about Nevada. I do think it comes down to Pennsylvania. I think she wins Pennsylvania. I really do. And I also think that, there's a lot of politicians and the governor there that are going to have a lot to do with it. I think she wins Pennsylvania, but like I said, Ron, I think it's a coin flip right now. I think it's
the 2 campaigns, by the way, have broken all this. This news came out today. Broken all-time record for most money spent in a single state. They've spent almost $500 million combined.
Wow.
Just in Pennsylvania. Harris has spent $275 million in Pennsylvania alone.
Wow. That's a lot. I got to give her credit for this. And listen, I did some shows a few weeks ago, and I've been preaching over and over again, begging her to do the Howard Stern show, to do Fox News, to pick Bret Baier. I said she's got to do Joe Rogan. I'm assuming that's going to happen.
I hope so, because Trump's doing Rogan Friday.
Yeah, well, she's got to do Rogan then. I mean, she has to. But the fact that she went on with Bret Baier, she did the Stern show, I think she's only helping herself. It's not hurting her. And we'll have to wait and see how it goes, my friend. Love to have you on again before the big election night. But love what you
Rogan thing was just announced an hour ago, by the way. Trump doing Rogan.
I was unaware of that. I think that's probably smart on his part, but most of Joe Rogan's listeners are probably going to be voting for him anyway. I think if anything, it'll help Kamala Harris a lot more if she goes on there, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Listen, I don't expect Joe Rogan to be hard pressing Donald Trump on anything, but we'll have to wait. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Ron, I love what you guys do at Midas Touch. Always appreciate the time, my friend. Hopefully we can get you on again before the election day, and appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. See you.
Take care, Ron. Thank you very much. That's Ron Filipkowski, everybody, from Midas Touch. Love what those guys do over there. I was talking to Ben the other day. They're great. And Ron is my favorite on social media, on X. I mean, he is the best follow. And I have a lot of people that I really enjoy following. He's certainly one of them. He's my favorite. All right. So yesterday I went on the air and I criticized a former NFL football player, a great football player. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. A man by the name of Antonio Brown. If you don't know who Antonio Brown is, he has a history. He has a history of criminality, leaving in the middle of a game, which that's basically how he retired, if I'm not mistaken. And he has a history of being in trouble with the law and doing and saying a lot of stupid things. So he endorsed Donald Trump the other day. And I did a segment on him. And this 2 minutes of audio that we are going to play for you right now got Antonio Brown very, very upset, so much so that he retweeted this video and got very defensive. I want to play it for you first. This is what I said yesterday on the air. Let's talk about Antonio Brown for a moment. So Antonio Brown, who has a lifelong criminal record, by the way, and can't put two sentences together. He's probably one of the dumbest athletes or former athletes you will ever hear. Decided to campaign for Donald Trump. Again, this guy is illiterate. He's worse at reading than Floyd Mayweather, and that's pretty bad. Antonio Brown, the illiterate moron that he is, spoke at a Donald Trump rally. And have a listen to this incoherent criminal jackass speaking on behalf of the former president.
But before I get too deep in my speech, I want to say, I know the media is going to call me crazy, me and Trump crazy for having me speaking here. But I want to make this clear. We are not. They are. Let's go. You know Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, do you really know they want to put tampons in the boys' bathroom? Is that crazy? That's really insane, right? And by the way, tampon Tim Walz, he isn't a real football coach. He could never guard me. Guys, how is business? Booming. Business will be booming going against Tim Walz. Tampon Tim Walz. It'd be really booming going against him.
Guy can't even talk. Ladies and gentlemen, Herschel Walker 2.0. Does Antonio Brown have a brain injury? I don't know. The guy can't even talk. First of all, I don't even know what to say, except for starters, Kamala Harris had nothing to do with tampons in boys' bathrooms. Number two, in not one school in the entire state of Minnesota are tampons in boys' bathrooms. Number three, and by the way, it's Tim Walz. It's not Tim Walsh, you frickin' moron. Antonio Brown, AB, you dumb idiot. It's Tim Walz. Why don't you pronounce some names right, you idiot? Number three, all Tim Walz did is left it up to the schools to decide. That's all he did. And none of the schools implemented it. And what if they did? So, the fallout of that, and if you want to call it fallout, I call it straight up comedy, is that Antonio Brown didn't like that segment, so much so that he retweeted it on social media because it got him that upset. Now, this is a guy who's got millions of followers, right? I'm sure a lot of people talk trash about him every day. He's a piece of trash as far as I'm concerned. And that has nothing to do with the color of his skin. I could care less. Nothing that I said in that segment had anything to do with the color of his skin. And it had everything to do with his criminal past, which I'll get to in a moment, and his stupidity. So AB, as some would like to call him, went on social media and said, quote, and this is tweeting to me because he retweeted my video in he's trying to defend himself. He says, I have a college degree. Let's start there before I finish the rest of the statement. He didn't finish getting his college degree in college. He took online classes after, years later. Now, listen, I'm sure that Antonio took those classes himself. I'm sure he didn't pay somebody to take those online classes for him. But anyway, he says, I have a college degree, one I got after finishing playing in the NFL. This is what you guys think of a black man who doesn't vote for who you think I should vote for. One of the dumbest athletes. Can you remember a 300-page playbook? First of all, anybody who memorizes a 300-page playbook, that doesn't mean you're very intelligent. I could memorize a 3,000-page playbook if you were paying me the kind of money that one time AB was getting paid. By the way, he's filed for bankruptcy, and the $80 million he received playing the game of football blew it all on who knows what. Memorizing a 300-page playbook doesn't make you Albert Einstein. In fact, it doesn't even make you smart. Yes, I do think Antonio Brown, did I say Bennett? I don't know why I said Bennett. Antonio Brown, in my personal opinion, is one of the dumbest former athletes around. Now, besides being illiterate, and if you don't believe me, you can listen to his speech that he attempted to read at this Donald Trump rally. And I'm thinking of Floyd Mayweather because the times that Floyd Mayweather attempted to read, he struggled as well. And then 50 Cent got into a whole thing with him, called him illiterate. And I remember talking about that on the air many years ago. So this is another excerpt, if you don't believe me, of Antonio Brown speaking at this Donald Trump rally.
But I'm here today representing a man who carries those same values. Donald Trump. He knows success, and he knows what it takes to make America great again. And to be real, we all have experienced highs and lows, especially me in my career as a Super Bowl champion and life as a father to 7 amazing children. I have experienced low points and have to overcome adversity. Just how I watched Donald Trump overcome adversity. No matter what the media threw at him, no matter what people say to try to bring him down, he continued to push forward and keep getting back up. And he's always ready for the fight. Fight, 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 fight. I love that.
I bet you do. I bet you got in a lot of fights in your lifetime. I bet you do. With your 7 kids, with how many different women. Sounds a lot like an orange man, if you want to talk about skin color. Listen, this was pathetic. It was a pathetic speech. And this is a guy that, speaking of kids, has missed making child support payments. This is a guy who assaulted a truck driver over a payment and pleaded no contest, got 2 years of probation. I think I had to pay off this driver $1.3 million, if I'm not mistaken. Brown was sued on allegations of throwing furniture from an apartment balcony that almost killed a toddler. Brown was cited for reckless driving, clocking over 100 miles per hour in a ticket last fall. He didn't show up to the court date, was found guilty in February. In 2019, Brown faced allegations of domestic violence with the mother of one of his children at his home in Florida. This goes on and on and on. He was sued by his personal chef for over $38,000. Claims that Brown fired him because the wide receiver thought a fish head in the freezer was a mob-style threat. I'm not making this stuff up, folks. As far as his personal female trainer, alleged sexual assault, claimed that he masturbated in front of her multiple times without consent. The rap sheet goes on and on for this guy. He's a lifelong criminal, horrible behavior, extremely selfish, can't read, very stupid, and I stand by every single word yesterday that I said about this guy.
Fight, 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 fight.
Sounds like he's really getting the crowd into it. They're really, boy, that crowd sounded almost as bad as a UNLV Air Force game. Sorry, that's a horrible local reference there. It's a national show, but I'm sorry, I had to do it. Not football, basketball. So I stand by everything I said, and I do find it very interesting that there are people on social media, and I could read you a few of them, or I could give you the gist of it, that are calling me a racist now. They're calling me homophobic slurs. Again, par for the course. When you can't win on substance, you'll just call somebody a homophobic slur if you're a MAGA supporter. You'll call me an abuser, which I've never been accused or charged with a crime in my tickets in my life. Never, ever broke the law, never did anything else in my life. So they're calling me everything in the book, right? And I'm laughing at it because obviously I got to them, their hero, Antonio Brown, who doesn't pay his child support and physically assaults truck drivers, who blows through $80 million and filed for bankruptcy, who has nothing. Last I heard in court documents, his assets were somewhere around $50,000. So I don't feel sorry for anything I said. Antonio, you are welcome to come on this show. You have an open invitation. Show me how smart you are. I'm very impressed with the fact that you were able to memorize a 300-page playbook. Very, very impressive. I mean, that must mean you're Albert Einstein. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure you wrote that speech yesterday with Tampon Tim, because I'm sure you knew who Tim Walz was before you endorsed Donald Trump. I'm sure you did. You're welcome to come on this show and state the case anytime. You're welcome to come on and tell us why you're supporting Donald Trump and maybe give me a few policies. I guarantee you he couldn't name one. Give me a few policies that you like from the Trump campaign. And by the way, you stupid idiot, Tim Walz allowed schools in the state of Minnesota to decide for themselves if they want to put tampons in boys' bathrooms. And when you talk to one of these idiots like AB, and you ask them, why would that harm children? How would free tampons in boys' bathroom, how would that harm kids? Listen to an explanation that they might try to come up with, because it doesn't. I'll tell you what harms people. Not paying child support. Throwing furniture off a balcony that almost kills a child. Assaulting people. Lying, cheating. Whipping out your junk in front of women without their consent. There are actual videos and images of him doing this. That's harmful to kids. That's harmful to society. Not tampons in boys' bathrooms, which, by the way, wasn't implemented in one school in Minnesota. And if it was, I wouldn't have a problem with it because it doesn't harm anybody. Antonio Brown, like Donald Trump, are a menace to society. Antonio Brown, like Donald Trump, filed for bankruptcy. Antonio Brown, like Donald Trump, usually have no idea what they're talking about. They say things without understanding the meaning of it. And Antonio Brown, like Donald Trump, they are both cheaters, they are both criminals, and they are both bad people. Bad people hang out with bad people. Felons hang out with felons. Cheaters hang out with cheaters. And there's a reason why Antonio Brown has no money. There's a reason why Antonio Brown has no credibility. And that's why Donald Trump reached out to him. And I guarantee you, Antonio Brown will not help Donald Trump get back into the White House.
Fight, 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 fight.
But listen, I'm a very giving person, okay? I'm a charitable guy. I want to help Antonio. So if Antonio could send me his address for Christmas, I will be sending him Hooked on Phonics for his birthday. And I hope he uses it. I really do. I hope he does. Antonio, I'll say it one more time. You're welcome on this show anytime to prove to us how smart you are. But I won't be asking you questions about a playbook that you memorized. I'll be asking you questions about Donald Trump and why you support him. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will take your phone calls at 702-221-7283. Your thoughts on Antonio Brown calling me a racist, basically, saying that I went after him because he's black. We'll take some phone calls on that. Again, the number 702-221-7283 is the number to call. And also, we have some audio from Liz Chaney on the campaign trail with Kamala Harris. And Donald Trump, once again, lying, this time about transgenders and kids in schools getting transgender surgery. We'll talk about that as well. We will take a quick break, but before we do so, I want to remind you all, this is an independently owned radio show. What does that mean? We rely on the good people like you to help support what we do. If Antonio Brown would like to make a contribution, he's more than welcome to. But in all seriousness, the website is pushingthelimits.live. Again, that's pushingthelimits.live. Go to the website. We sell merchandise up there, shirts, hats, you name it. We sell it. And if you don't want to buy merchandise, that's cool. You could just go to the front page there where we have a donate button. $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever you can afford, we greatly appreciate it. And again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. We were going to go to the phone calls next, 702-221-7283. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Fight, 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 fight.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com. and get started.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley for mayor.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to remind you guys, the official gaming bar of the Pushing the Limits radio show is Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, with great promotions, including the Pass the Puck contest during Vegas Golden Knights games. And if you earn 350 points on any given Sunday from noon to 8 a.m., you're going to earn $50 in free slot play. Please check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill. Great food, great atmosphere, great bartenders. I love it. And it is located at Flamingo and Jones, and tell them I sent you. So we got some great guests lined up here for the rest of the week, man. I'm really excited. Tomorrow, John Ralston is going to be joining us from the Nevada Indy. Why? Well, you hear all these things that Republicans are outvoting Democrats. Well, John Ralston has all the stats, and he has the most accurate information. He's going to be joining us tomorrow on the show. Ron Quince, who is running for Congress, is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow as well. The Mooch, Anthony Scarra. Moochie is going to be joining us on the show Thursday, and Miss Tilly is going to be joining us on the show Friday. Why? There are a coalition of those that are either in the porn business, women that are in the porn business, or women that are OnlyFans models that are voting against Donald Trump because they're making the case, and they're right, that there are hundreds of Republican politicians that are trying to end pornography. So she's a very successful OnlyFans model. She's going to be joining us on the show Friday to talk a little bit about that. So that is going to be a lot of fun as well. I promised I would get back to the calls. We are going to be getting to some other issues, but I do want to stick on this Antonio Brown first. So let's try to remain on topic here. Antonio Brown alleging that I'm going after him because he's black, which I never brought up race. He did. I'm going after him because he's an idiot. He's a moron who can barely read. I'm sure he can barely write. He has a lifelong criminal past. He's been sued by basically anybody and everybody around him. And I called him out for it, and he couldn't handle it. And he claims that he's really smart because he memorized his 300-page playbook when he played in the NFL. He tweeted this to me. Number to call, 702-221-7283. Why don't we start off with Kim? Kim is first up on PTL. Hi, Kim. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi.
What's up, Kim?
This is my first time calling, and I'm a new follower, so I do want to say I enjoy everything, and of course I'm a Midas Touch super fan.
Oh, well, cool. I'm glad you found the show. Thank you for calling in. What do you think about this former football player calling me a racist?
I think the whole thing shows his true colors, and, taking criticism is one thing. He just can't take it.
Right.
So I don't see how it would be considered racist at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, if you don't mind, I'd like to go back to what Ron and you were talking about with the night at the Garden.
Sure.
I do believe that there's some innuendos there as well because of night at the Madison Garden in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not be surprised if we see some Hitler shit going on, excuse my language. And that might be why he wants to go to Madison Square Garden.
Well, I will say this. That could be a part of it, but I will say this. When you look at the majority of the hate groups in this country, whether we're talking about the Oath Keepers or the Proud Boys and many of these right-wing fringe groups, they're not supporting Kamala Harris. They're all on board with Donald Trump. If you notice, Trump will never talk about the Klan. He'll never talk about white supremacy because many of these people go to his rallies. I've been to them. I've seen it for myself. If you want to talk about the color of skin, 99% of people that show up to these rallies are white. When Antonio Brown was speaking in Pittsburgh, it looked like he was speaking to members of the Klan. I mean, that's really what it looked like to me. Kim, I'm so glad that you found this show. And
real quick, Antonio clearly doesn't understand what Make America Great means. It does not include him.
You are 150% correct on that one, Kim. Great phone call, and I'm glad you found the show. Please call back again. Antonio Brown doesn't understand anything. He doesn't even know what he's saying. He's calling Tim Walz Tampon Tim. He doesn't even know what he's saying. He doesn't even know that this wasn't implemented in one school in Minnesota. He's so stupid. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ed. Ed is next. Hey, Ed, what's going on, man?
How you doing, Brian?
Good. Where are you calling from, Ed?
Calling from Las Vegas.
All right. Well, I love my locals here. Ed, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind today?
Well, I kind of wanted to get something out there that I thought was being missed in the election process right now, and that's really about how Project 2025 is really going to affect veterans. And I'm a Vietnam-era veteran myself.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you. I just really felt that it was a little bit off. They keep talking about Social Security, which I appreciate, and Medicare. That's all great and everything, but they really don't talk about how Project 2025 is going to affect the overall veterans care environment.
Yeah.
And that's really the reasons I wanted to get on there. And we've got probably about, I did the numbers, I did some checks on it and things like that, and did my research.
Yeah.
There's about over 10 million people that will be affected by messing with our benefits and also changing the health care program within the United States.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to kind of come on your show, and I've become a big fan of it, and I really
thank
appreciate
you.
what you're doing. I just said, you know what, I want to try to get a hold of you.
That means a lot, Ed. I'm so glad you called in. Ed, I'm going to add some things to it.
Sure.
You're a hero, and the reason why I'm able to go on the radio every day and speak my mind is because of people like you who have fought and risked everything for this country and put everything on the line. Donald Trump would call somebody like you a sucker and a loser. Donald Trump thinks that no respect for John McCain because he was captured. Donald Trump is the guy that dodged the military multiple times. He's never fought for anybody but himself his entire life. And I can't seem to comprehend why anybody, let alone somebody like you or anybody that has served this country honorably, would vote for a man who has done nothing but, said negative things about people like you and the heroes in this country, in this nation. He doesn't care about people like you. He's crapped on people like you, for lack of a better term, and I just don't seem to understand why people that have served this country will vote for this man. Listen, at this point, I can't understand why anybody would vote for this man, let alone somebody who served, Ed.
Well, I'm in total agreement with that, Brian. I mean, I deal with this all the time. I try to talk to as many veterans as possible, and also people who say they support veterans. And I go, if you're going to vote for Agent Orange again, which is my opinion of him, he's just another form of Agent Orange. And if you're going to vote for him again, that's what you're bringing to all of us. And I'm totally lost at that too. I mean, I'm a product of the Vietnam era war and all the protests and everything about a lot of things. And I don't understand it either. It just seems to me
it's baffling, Ed. It's just a lot of people are ill-informed. I don't know, ignorant, ill-informed, brainwashed. I mean, pick or choose any of those words, Ed. But I'll end by saying this. Thank you so much for your service. You're a hero, and I'm honored that you listen to this show and you enjoy it, my friend. And I hope that you call back. I love hearing from people like you. I really do. Thank you, Ed. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next on PTL. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Brian. You said stay on topic. Well, I did want to mention how racist Pennsylvania is, but I could get into that another day.
What are your thoughts?
Stay on top.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Antonio Brown, his speech yesterday, and
I was getting to that.
Him attacking me and saying I'm going after him because he's black.
Yeah, I was getting to that. First of all, let's give the kudos to Antonio for being one of the greatest receivers in the NFL.
Sure.
But if you go on YouTube, right, and you type in Vontaze perfect hit on Antonio Brown, he was hit in the head and he was knocked out.
Correct.
Out cold. And I think he was on the field like maybe 5 to 10 minutes before they carted him off in a stretcher.
Right.
And ever since that point, he became completely uncontrollable. You're talking about a two-time world champion coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers that could not handle or contain Antonio Brown. Mm-hmm. They released the greatest receiver in football to the Raiders. Yep. The Raiders released him to the Pats.
Right.
The Pats released him to Tampa Bay.
Yep.
This guy taped a meeting of Tomlin in a locker room and put it on air.
So you bring up a good point.
He's a criminal.
Yes, we know that.
Yes.
You bring up a really good point, and I want to talk about this because this is a serious topic. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything about CTE, but what we do know is you're right. He took a lot of hits, but
a tremendous hit.
You're right. And listen, if that is true, I sympathize with him. I really do. But I'm going to say this over and over again. We can't use CTE, and I don't think you're doing this.
Absolutely not.
But we can't
Absolutely
use
not.
Right.
But he was slightly uncontrollable before that.
Okay, I get that.
He became completely uncontrollable after.
Mark, I totally get what you're saying. Point is very well taken, and I think we also agree that we can't
don't use it as an excuse.
Right, for not paying child support, for physically assaulting people. So you make a very good point there. Nobody could control him. Tomlin couldn't control him in Pittsburgh. Bill Belichick, couldn't control him. The Raiders signed him.
But the criminal in him is in him.
Oh, no
not
question. So let me ask you a question,
It's
Mark.
in him.
Since we're on this topic, let me ask you a question. Why do you think Donald Trump and his staff want to be associated with somebody like him? Now, there might be plenty
I'll tell you why.
I don't understand. Why would you want this guy?
He's looking for celebrities because who did Kamala Harris get endorsed by?
Everybody.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
A
Magic
huge
Johnson.
celebrity.
Magic Johnson. I mean, the list
He needs big celebrities. He's tired of fucking Kid Rock. Sorry. He's tired of Kid Rock and all these other idiots. So he needed to get someone who the Generation X and people of a younger generation than us can relate to.
Well, Mark, all we can hope is that it backfires on him, my friend. Good call. Appreciate it. Good to hear from you. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Alois. Alois is next up on PTL. Hello, Alois.
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Good. Where are you calling from, Alois?
Yeah, I'm calling from Colorado. I called a week ago. I'm the one who called them the MAGA fungus.
Gotcha.
I don't know if you recall that.
I do remember that. I do. What do you make of this Antonio Brown claiming that I'm racist, that I'm going after him because he's black? All I'm doing is calling him out for what he is. Another, ignoramus that is supporting Donald Trump.
Your statement is not racist. You brought the facts on the table.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Because I'm a black man myself.
Right.
Because what Antonio Brown needs to understand, when people decide that they're going to dismantle, like the civil rights Martin Luther King fought for, so we are able to vote, they say they're going to dismantle the Department of Education.
Right.
And when you go through the Project 2025, for me, I feel like it's specific, the biggest loser in that project are black people, specifically black men.
Right.
But if you, as a black man, you can't see that, you are an idiot. I can even go far. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to a couple things, my friend. I think it comes down to intelligence. I think it comes down to, are you capable of being brainwashed if you hear the same lies over and over again? That's what it comes down to me. Intelligence. Are you gullible? And then there are people, it doesn't matter how stupid they are. If you're going to be a bigot and you're going to be racist and you're going to, be who you are and you were raised a certain way, then you're gone. And there's really nothing that can be done, my friend. But I do appreciate your perspective. And I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. Dennis is next. Hi, Dennis. Thanks for calling in. Where are you calling from?
Colorado. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing good, Dennis. Boy, home of Lauren Boebert. How's she doing these days?
I'm sorry. I will tell you, Tina Peters is still in jail.
Good. She did this show, and she tried to mock me, and the interview didn't go very well for her. I wonder if she's still got Hunter Biden's laptop in her jail cell.
Well, she says she does, or else she gave it to the pillow fart. So,
Mike Lindell. Dennis, what do you make of this? What do you make of an uneducated guy with a rap sheet who is endorsing Donald Trump, and then when I call him out for who he is, he claims that I'm a racist?
Well, just like the other Trump supporters that don't have billions of dollars, once he gets done with him, he's going to throw him to the wayside.
Oh, sure. He does that with everybody, right? Yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah. The other thing, Maggot Herb. He was talking about tampons.
Yeah.
One thing you need to tell him is that maybe she goes up and tells his brother.
Exactly.
And his brother, if they were in the boys,
of course,
they would give it to him.
Dennis, I've made this point over and over again. And by the way, Antonio Brown also called Tim Tampon Tim and brought this up.
I heard that.
Yeah, and it's so. If you ask these mega morons, how is this harming kids? If in fact there was, which by the way, no school has implemented it in Minnesota, but let's just say hypothetically speaking, there's tampons in boys' bathrooms. How does that negatively affect your kids? How does that negatively... See, they don't want to talk about gun control. They don't want to talk about these kids being gunned down in schools, right? They don't want to talk about the clergy and all these kids that have been molested. They'd rather talk about drag queens and banning books. These MAGA Republicans are not serious when they say we want our kids to be protected. They want to attack teachers for indoctrinating kids, which, by the way, is not happening. And they have such a big problem if, in fact, it was ever implemented that there'd be tampons in boys' bathrooms. But yet the guy who's talking about tampons in boys' bathrooms, I'm talking about Antonio Brown now, is the same guy that skipped out on paying his child support, who has like 100 kids, right, with a bunch of different women. And he's assaulted people. He's, in my personal opinion, based on the lawsuits that I've looked at, he has a history of sexual, I don't even know if you call it abuse, but whipping it out in public. So, and this is the guy that wants to talk to us about tampons in boys' bathrooms. Listen to the MAGA right. This is what they're worried about.
The reason why all these guys are following him is they have done exact same thing as Trump. Not paid child support, sexually abused women.
Right.
And all of that.
Yeah.
So, yes, they want to support him because they're just like him.
That is such a good point that you brought up, Dennis. Thank you so much for the phone call. You're right. A lot, not all of the people, but the prominent people that support Donald Trump share his lack of values. Dana White smacks his wife. Hulk Hogan openly has said he hates black people. It's on audio. Kid Rock using homophobic slurs on stage. When you look at the very famous, or I shouldn't say very famous, but when you look at some of the names that support Donald Trump, Ted Nugent would be another one that comes to mind. He's homophobic. These are the people that align themselves with Donald Trump because he has no moral compass, and neither do they. He has no values, and neither do they. I find this to be interesting that some of the people out there that are trying to call me a racist, which, by the way, is laughable. I just laugh at it because it's so absurd, are the same people that support Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the guy he said he would rather have Jews counting his money in his casinos than black people. Again, I don't understand if you're a brave man or woman in uniform, how you can support this man, the things he said about our brave men and women in uniform. I don't understand if you're black, how you can support Donald Trump. I don't understand if you're a woman, the things he said about women, their appearance, you name it, the things he has said. She's not the chosen one in regards to sexual abuse and rape. I don't know how you can be anybody at this point, quite frankly. If you're not going to vote in this election, that's fine. You're a staunch Republican. You're not going to vote for Trump, but you're not ready to vote for Harris either. Fine, I'll take that as a win. But I don't understand these people out there that are supporting Trump. I don't care who you are at this point. I just don't understand it. I don't understand you. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Kerry. Hi, Kerry. Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Tampa, Florida today.
Tampa, Florida, home of Ron, the white boot DeSantis.
That's right. Cowboy Ron.
What's on your mind today, my friend?
You know, I was just kind of listening to your show earlier, and I kind of want to get your perspective on something here.
Okay.
You say that Antonio Brown, after you called him out, was calling you names, and that people, when they disagree with you in MAGA, only call names, yet you call people MAGA morons every single day.
No, let me correct you. Let me correct you on something, okay? And then let's continue the conversation. So,
perfect.
I don't mind if somebody calls me a name. Like if you call me a moron or an idiot, that doesn't bother me at all. If somebody calls me a liberal, it's not factually accurate because I'm a registered independent, right? If somebody calls me a racist, it's not factually accurate. And in regards to this issue, I never brought up his race. You see,
before we get too
hold
far
on,
in the weeds,
you're saying
an independent.
Hold on, we'll get to that, but let me just finish real quickly, and then I'll give you the floor, sir. So when it comes to Antonio Brown, and I said he's illiterate because he struggles to read. Okay, that's true. I also said he's a lifelong criminal, and you look at his criminal past, that's factually accurate. Based on that and the way he's lived his life, I've called him stupid. Nothing I said is factually accurate. If somebody wants to claim to me that Antonio Brown is this Rhodes Scholar, then fine, you can have that opinion. But I'm not just calling somebody something just to call them something. When I call somebody a MAGA moron, it's when they say Trump won the 2020 election. When I call somebody a MAGA moron, it's when they say he cares about us. He's a regular, everyday guy. So we can disagree on opinion. But that's why I called him those things. And when he calls me, he didn't really call me a racist, but he said I called him out because he's black. It's an idiocy because I never even mentioned the color of his skin. Okay, go ahead, sir. You wanted to ask me something about me being an independent. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you're an independent. I just never really hear you criticizing anything Democrats do. And also, I think I first found your show on Occupy Democrats.
Gotcha. So let me respond to that. If there was a website called Occupy Republicans, I would be on that website also. I want the largest audience possible, so that's irrelevant to the conversation. Number two, I have called out Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib on this show a number of times. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I didn't vote for Barack Obama. You know why? Because I would have been I would have been okay with Mitt Romney being the president. I think he's a decent man. I would have been okay with John McCain being the president of the United States because I think he was a decent human being. I don't agree with Democrats on every issue, but when it comes to this election, I am very critical of the far MAGA right. Now, I believe in border security. I believe in capital punishment. I'm okay with capitalism. I actually have some, I guess you could say, agreements when it comes to Republicans. But in 2024, I don't agree with many Republicans on a lot of issues. Now, I voted for 8 Republicans in the 2022 midterms. So I'm an independent because I don't want to associate myself with a specific party. But in this election, it's an easy choice for me. I'm voting for democracy. I'm voting for decency. Does that not make sense?
Right. I mean, and if nothing screams democracy like a candidate that's installed. Right.
Say that again.
Nothing. Get into
say that again.
I said nothing screams democracy like a candidate that has been installed.
Okay, so let's talk about that. First of all,
and you know it's bad at Jim Gaffigan.
Okay, so
Tim Walz on SNL. Tim Walz is talking about.
I don't want to talk about Jim Gaffigan because I'd rather talk about some serious issues. You brought up Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. Okay, so I'm gonna respond. I don't know why you're laughing. We're trying to have a serious conversation. So Kamala Harris was voted in with Joe Biden as the winning ticket in the 2020 election. She was chosen as the vice president, and the people of America voted for that ticket. I have no problem at all with Joe Biden stepping aside. In fact, I encouraged that to happen.
I mean, they voted for Joe Biden to be president.
So if you want to, so that was the winning ticket. Most people that I talk to not just vote for the president, but they vote for the winning ticket. I know a lot of people that did not vote for John McCain. Do you know why? It's not because they didn't like or respect John McCain. They didn't like Sarah Palin. So now, if you don't like that process, let me ask you a question. Do you have a hold on. I answered your question. Now I want to ask you a question. Do you have a problem? Do you have a problem with Donald Trump still saying he won the 2020 election?
I do, actually, and I know you're gotcha. I know you're.
It's not a gotcha. It's a very simple question. It's not a gotcha. It's not a gotcha.
Say who won the 2020 election?
I didn't ask you that.
Okay.
I didn't ask you who won.
I know Biden won.
Okay, I appreciate that. It's not a gotcha. It's a very easy question, and I didn't ask that question. I said, do you have a problem with that? So I appreciate your answer. So I would assume you also had a problem with what took place on January 6th. Can I assume that?
Yeah, I think it was an ugly day. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was an ugly day.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree. So
I don't think that people breaking windows. Like, I don't think that people breaking windows amounts to this massive threat to our democracy.
Okay, so first of all, it wasn't just about breaking windows. They stormed the Capitol. 140 officers were injured that day. People died that day. Brian Sitnick died the following day, and several officers committed suicide.
From natural causes.
Okay, listen. If you let me ask you a question. Let me ask you another question then, because this is absurd. Right. But I want to ask it because you're entitled to your opinion, of course. You're telling me that 24 hours after Brian Sitnick was sprayed with bear spray and his life was in jeopardy, that you don't believe that him dying the next day had anything to do with what happened the day before. Is that your opinion, sir?
If that is what, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional.
I'm not asking you if you're. I'm not asking you if you're a doctor or not. I'm going to ask it again, and you don't have to be a doctor to answer this question. By the way, his family had stated on the record in multiple interviews he had no major health issues. So I'm going to ask it again, and you don't have to be a doctor, in my opinion, to answer this question honestly. Are you telling me? Are you telling me? Are you? I'm asking you. I'm asking you a question, and you don't have to be a doctor to answer this question. Are you telling me that what took place on January 6th had nothing to do with Brian Sitnick, a perfectly healthy middle-aged man, dying the following day? Sir, is that your opinion?
It is my non-expert medical opinion from reviewing.
Okay, we'll move on. I think that's absurd, but we will move on now.
Brian owes $40,000 to the Vegas mob. He owns a Red Dawn Shark.
I have no idea what you're talking about, sir. I don't own any money to the mob, and I think you just proved how stupid you are. You're not capable of having an intelligent conversation. I don't owe any money to the mob. That's a really bizarre thing that you just said. And also, you proved how stupid you are in the conversation. I tried to have a respectful conversation with you. But, hey, look on the bright side of things because you and Antonio Brown seem to have a lot in common. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff is next up on PTL. What's up, Jeff?
Ooh, what a buffoon.
Yes. Yes, he was.
All right, so back to AB. One of AB's mentors, another box of rocks, was former NFL wide receiver Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson. And fun fact, Brian, Ocho Cinco, he's neighbors with Roger Stone. Not hard to figure out how he got involved. And for that last caller, since he's taking the IV Kool-Aid, Trump's ad attacking Kamala and the prison transgender policy that Trump keeps running all day during college football and Sunday NFL action was Trump's policy.
Yeah.
He was explaining Trump's policy. Maggots.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And it's incredible to me. How let me ask you this. How is it possible to have a logical conversation with somebody that can't admit that January 6th had something to do with Brian Sitnick's death? How can you have a logical conversation with somebody like that?
We've talked about it before, Brian. It's impossible because they're set. Like, he'll throw that, oh, you got your gotcha question, where that's his whole shtick.
Yeah.
Is trying to get you in a
As
gotcha
if
thing.
It's not a gotcha. Like,
Donald not.
Yeah, Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. Republicans think that that's some sort of gotcha question. January 6th was a terrible day. Donald Trump didn't lie about the election being stolen, then that day doesn't happen. These aren't gotcha questions, right? I appreciate the call, Jeff. Thank you. 702-221-7283. I believe Letitia is next up on PTL. Hi, Letitia. Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. I'm calling from Las Vegas.
All right. Thank you for calling. I love my Las Vegas locals. What's on your mind today?
Okay, I want to say first and foremost, you're definitely not a racist, so you're always invited to the cookout.
Thank you. I appreciate
That guy is definitely a loser in so many different ways, and if people can acknowledge that, then it's because they're losers themselves. Anytime someone calls someone else a racist, they're self-reflecting off themselves. He's a self-hater. I have to deal with people like that constantly at work.
You know, it's
I had to
interesting.
deal with one actually last night.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry to hear that. And, you know, AB is a guy that he calls white people crackers constantly. He's the one that talks about race all the time, right? I mean, the Trump supporters are the ones that bring Confederate flags to the rallies. I've seen it myself. You know, they're the ones that have a problem with the black vote. They're the ones that can't get 15% of the black vote. Think about that. They can't even get two out of 10.
That's what's killing me the most.
They can't even get 2 out of 10 African Americans to support them. 2 out of 10, you know, and
I agree.
Yeah, I mean that to me
I agree,
that
because
says
the
something.
racist is just through the roof.
Yeah,
it's just through the roof. They're full blown burning the house down.
Yeah, yeah.
They're really taking it to the extreme. I had my coworker say, "Oh, I didn't know Kamala was black, and he's black," and I'm like, "So you're telling me? So if you don't know that she's black, so you're definitely telling me you don't know that I'm black?" Because I have a Jamaican father,
right.
And my great grandfather is freaking German.
It's so
like
ignorant.
Really, if people don't understand the fact that people are different cultures,
yeah.
they really just
well,
need
here's
to
what
go
you need
sit
to
down
say.
in kindergarten
Letitia,
and just really.
You make great points. Here's what I would say, and there's a little levity to this, but you can't deal with these ignorant, stupid people that think Kamala Harris turned black. So here's what I would say to them. I would say I believe Donald Trump was born an orangutan. I believe his mother's an orangutan, and I believe he was born an orange orangutan. Because that's how that's how you respond to these people, because they're so stupid. That's what they're saying. So just give it to them right back. But you don't have to use racism to do it. You don't have to use bigotry. Make a joke and say I believe Donald Trump was born an orangutan. His mother was an orangutan. Just say that, because that's how stupid they are.
I told my coworker I have facts. Donald Trump's grandfather was pretty much a smuggler. He was a pimp. He ran a brothel. Like, come on, let's be for real.
Donald Trump's father was arrested.
Really?
Donald Trump's father was arrested at a Klan rally. So, I mean, Letitia, I'm so glad you called. Thank you so much. Great to hear from you, and I appreciate your support. Thank you. 7-0, and I'm looking forward to that cookout, by the way, because, man, I love going to barbecues. I love going to cookouts. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Chuck. Chuck is next up on PTL. What's going on, Chuck?
Hey, Brian. I just want to say that listening to the sycophants of Trump, they always interpret what he says. I mean, the Republicans interpret what he says. The Democrats take him for what he's saying.
Right.
I mean, I hear Mike Johnson sit there and say, oh, he's not talking about Adam Schiff or Pelosi
Right.
when he says the enemy's within. He's talking about these Black Lives Matter and
Chuck,
things.
can I ask you, how many times have you heard a MAGA Republican, when they're asked about something, a direct quote of Donald Trump, their response is, well, here's what I think he was trying to say?
Well, that's my whole point.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this interpretation.
Right.
Take him for what he says. Quite honestly, I'm more pissed off at the sycophants and the people who vote for this guy.
Right.
I mean, he's telling us exactly what he is.
That's what Howard Stern said, verbatim, basically. He said, you know, I'm not a big Donald Trump guy, but I'm not going to blame him. I'm going to blame the people that support him. Those are the people I hate.
That's it. I can't see how this race is anywhere near close.
It's scary, isn't it? Isn't it, Chuck?
It's very scary.
It's scary, my man. These are the times we're living in, Chuck, but I'm glad there's more people like you out there. I'll say that, and hopefully we get the result we need. Man, 2 weeks to go. Can you believe it? All right, we got a MAGA supporter on the line. Always love my MAGA supporters. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick is next up on PTL. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Brian. I'm just calling to thank you, man. You reaching out, telling the campaign to do all these media blitzes, Howard Stern and et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
That directly correlated to the betting odds when she completely collapsed. I think Trump's now at 65% on the poly market. She's down.
Who cares? Who cares what a betting market says?
Well, I just want to thank you because it seems like as soon as she went out and did her media blitz, everybody realized that she's
I don't know
not gonna
what
win.
I don't know what poll you're talking about or what you're referring to. There's websites out there that have it about 53 to 47. I don't pay attention to any of that stuff. So quite frankly, Patrick,
I have
I
a
could
hard
care
time
less.
believing that. Everyone knows you love betting.
I don't. First of all, it's illegal in the United States of America to bet on the elections. I'm not sure if you even understood the laws behind that, but that's okay, Patrick. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about other than some random betting website that says Donald Trump has a 65% chance to win?
All the betting odds are showing. Not
Okay,
just
I'm not
Polymarket.
interested.
Predicted.
I'm not interested.
Predicted.org is another one.
Patrick, I'm not interested in what betting odds are in other countries. I'm really not. Is there anything of? Let me ask you a question, Patrick. Do you think it's proper to call Tim Walz Tampon Tim?
Well, as anybody, bookies.
Okay. So I just said I'm not interested in having a conversation with you about bookies and offshores that are illegal to bet on about the elections. I could care less. By the way, Donald Trump was like 30-1 to become president when he entered the race in 2016. So I'm sure you were calling into conservative stations about that. What do you think of Antonio Brown, talking about tampons in boys' bathrooms, Patrick? Do you think that's a really important issue to talk about?
Are bookies a sensitive issue for you, Brian?
No, they're not.
Bookies?
Why are you asking me if bookies are a sensitive issue for me? What does that have to do with the topic? The answer is no. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Can you answer my question and have a semi-intelligent conversation with me? Or are you going to talk about bookies and offshore betting and all that stuff? Are we going to have a serious conversation, Patrick, or not? I'll leave that up to you. Because if we're not, I'm going to hang up on you.
Nobody is concerned about Antonio Brown, but I tell you this.
What do you? Whoa! What do you mean nobody is concerned about Antonio Brown? Donald Trump decided that Antonio Brown was going to be his guest celebrity speaker in Pittsburgh. He thought that was the intelligent take on the right guy to speak to introduce him up on stage. So when you say nobody, the guy who you are voting for and supporting is the guy who wanted Antonio Brown to speak on his behalf, a lifelong criminal and an illiterate fool. So when you say nobody, does that include Donald Trump, Patrick?
Well, I would prefer to have Antonio Brown introduce me over any Dick Chaney or Liz
Gotcha.
Chaney.
So let's talk about that. MAGA Patrick would rather have a lifelong criminal and an illiterate fool who hasn't paid his child support and physically assaulted a truck driver to introduce him, would rather have that than someone who is a politician and an educated woman and a former vice president of the United States. Patrick, is that your very intelligent MAGA take today, Patrick? Because that's a new one.
We all remember that the Cheneys lied us into a decade-long war, many decades.
Patrick, we can talk about policies and the fact you don't like some of Dick Cheney's. Guess what? I don't like some of Liz Cheney's policies. I disagree with the way she votes. But you see, Patrick, here's the difference that MAGA people like you struggle to differentiate. I'll explain, Patrick, and then I'll give you the chance to respond. You see, Patrick, there's a difference between not like somebody's policies and then somebody who's a lifelong criminal who belongs in jail. You see, you might not like the policies of Kamala Harris, but Kamala Harris is a decent woman who comes from a decent family. She's an educated woman who had to work hard to get to where she is. But you support a guy who was given a $500 million company from daddy, who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, who has been thousands of discrimination lawsuits he's had to pay out, the swindler with Trump University and many others that have filed for bankruptcy in his businesses, the man who's a 34-count felon, a liable sexual abuser. You see, people like you, Patrick, seem to struggle to differentiate what is a lifelong criminal and a horrible human being to someone who's a decent human being, but you just might not like some of their policies. Patrick, why do you struggle with that so much? Explain that to me.
Because I don't believe a policy of lying us into a forever war costing us trillions of dollars and millions of lives is just a policy. That's a bad person. It's a bad family when they advocate for that and cost us what they cost us.
Okay, so there were a lot of Republicans and Democrats that were okay with the war in Iraq. I'm not defending that decision, Patrick, but it seems like you're defending Donald Trump, but you care about innocent lives, right? It sounds to me, Patrick, and this is a positive thing, right? You seem to care about innocent people dying, which is a good thing. I don't want innocent people to die either. So let's go with that for a moment, Patrick. When Donald Trump said we were going to have 15 cases down to 0 and that COVID was going to be gone by Easter, when Donald Trump took his coronavirus press conferences and turned them into political rallies, many people, including infectious disease experts around the country, would agree that cost us lives. Innocent people died. So, Patrick, I understand you don't like the decisions of George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. I don't either. We should have never gone to war in Iraq. Would you also agree, though, if you care about innocent lives, that Donald Trump's handling of COVID was horrendous, and per capita, we had almost more deaths than any other country in the world? So would you agree that Donald Trump did a really poor job in handling COVID?
I would say this administration is responsible for many deaths.
Not talking about
in
this
Ukraine.
administration. That is not my question. You are going to stick to topic, and you are going to answer my question directly. I'll ask it one more time, and it's not about this administration. It's what happened in Donald Trump's administration. I will ask again. I need you to focus, Patrick, because you don't like the decisions made by Dick Cheney and George W. Bush. Fair game, no problem. I get where you're coming from. We agree. We shouldn't have gone to war in Iraq. The way he handled the coronavirus press conferences and turned it into campaign rallies, he said 15 cases down to 0. He said it'd be gone by Easter. He downplayed it constantly. Would you give Donald Trump the criticism for so many innocent Americans dying when he was president of the United States? Yes or no? Answer the question, please. And it's not.
I would encourage everybody to go out and get their boosters because COVID.
Okay. So the question again wasn't about getting your boosters. I need you to focus, Patrick. I know you're trying to be funny and being sarcastic. But now I'm going to ask the question for a third time, which you struggle to answer. You criticized Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney, and you actually made probably the dumbest comment perhaps I've ever heard you make on this show, which is you'd rather have Antonio Brown introduce you than somebody like Liz Cheney. Antonio Brown, a lifelong criminal who doesn't pay his child support and has been charged with assault and pled no contest, has lived his life a deplorable life, who can barely read. And you'd rather have that guy introduce you than Liz Cheney or Dick Cheney. Okay, you don't like Dick Cheney, you don't like the Cheneys, you don't like the war in Iraq. No problem. You claim you care about people. I'm now going to ask you the same question for a third time, and it only has to do with Donald Trump. Are you okay with Donald Trump taking coronavirus press conferences and turning them into campaign rallies? Are you okay with him downplaying coronavirus and saying it was going to be gone by Easter, 15 cases down to 0? I'm going to give you one more opportunity to answer a question directly, because it seems like, Patrick, you're struggling a little bit to answer a question. And this question has nothing to do with this administration, and it has nothing to do with boosters. Please answer the question. Do you think Donald Trump handled coronavirus well? Yes or no?
I was not a fan of Operation Warp Speed. I was not a fan of the federal mandates that the Biden administration
didn't put in federal mandates alone. Donald Trump left it up to the states to shut down cities and states. So again, you are deflecting and you're not answering a direct question. You don't answer any direct questions to your rapist, 34-count felon leader who you support. You're not capable of answering any direct questions. You defend Antonio Brown, a lifelong criminal. So we shouldn't be surprised, Patrick, that you also defend a lifelong criminal in Donald Trump. Patrick, why do you look up to rapists and felons? Can I ask you that, Patrick? Why do you look up to rapists and felons?
I don't look up to families that are responsible for the lives of millions of Iraqis.
We're focusing right now, Patrick, on Donald Trump. You are voting for a man who is a liable sexual abusing rapist. You are voting for a man who is a 34-count felon. I'm wondering, when you go into that voter booth and you decide to vote, if you haven't already, what is it going to feel like to vote for a rapist? Can you explain that to the American people? What is that going to feel like to be voting for someone who hung out with Jeffrey Epstein? What is that going to feel like, Patrick?
If you want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein, we can talk about Jeffrey Epstein.
I'm talking about his relationship with Donald Trump. I'm talking about his relationship with Donald Trump.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And there was also an attorney that was representing the defendants in the 2007, 2008
Why are you not, Patrick?
Right?
You're not answering my question directly. There's a theme here, Patrick. You don't put any responsibility on Donald Trump. When you go to that voter booth, you're going to vote for a guy who's a liable sexual abuser. That was proven in a courtroom. You're going to vote for a guy who's a 34-count felon. That was proven in a courtroom. So my question to you, Patrick, and I need you to focus, okay? How is it going to feel on Election Day when you decide to vote for a rapist, 34-count felon? I'd like you to please answer one question directly, if you may. If it's going to feel great, then tell us, Patrick. How is that going to feel?
Well, how does it make you feel that she's losing?
No. You don't answer. You don't answer a question with a question, Patrick. I think I've asked you 6 questions and you haven't answered one directly. But that's okay, Patrick. I'm feeling very patient with people like you today. So I'm going to ask it one more time. Don't answer a question with a question. You should have learned that in first grade when all those teachers were indoctrinating you, right, Patrick? How is it going to feel when you vote for a man on Election Day who's a 34-count felon, liable sexual abuser, who has 30 women who have accused him of sexual assault or rape, a man who's paid off millions and millions of dollars in discrimination lawsuits because he didn't want black people living in the properties that he owned? I want to know, Patrick, how is that going to feel? I've asked you 6 questions about Trump and you keep deflecting it on others. How is that going to
I want to remind you, we have a bet. We have a bet that Trump will get more than 20% of the black vote.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll pay
that
it,
is
Patrick.
$100.
The question wasn't about the question. Hey, Patrick, the question wasn't about Donald Trump getting the black vote. I've asked you now 7 questions in a row, and you've been unable to answer every single time. Yes, Donald Trump is not going to get more than 20% of the black vote, but that wasn't my question, Patrick, so I find it very interesting. So what have we learned from Patrick today? We've learned that if he was running for president, which thank God he isn't, he might be more dangerous than Trump. He would rather have Antonio Brown introduce him on a stage than Liz Chaney. He wants to give criticism to Dick Cheney and George W. Bush for the war in Iraq, which, by the way, I have no problem with at all. I would agree with him there. But then when it comes to the mishandling of COVID, Trump didn't do anything wrong. He won't answer any direct questions, and he deflects. Patrick is your typical MAGA supporter. Patrick, I appreciate you calling into the show, but you prove what I say on the show every single day, which is this. Donald Trump's base is Patrick. Donald Trump's base is typical, uneducated, middle-aged white people that are ill-informed and watch Newsmax all day. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Robert. Robert is next. Hey, Robert.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, man, why does all these people go for Trump?
Stupidity. People.
What does all these people find in that idiot?
I'll tell you what I think they find. I think they find bigotry and hatred and racism and attacks on immigrants, legal or not. when he says "Make America Great Again," I think he really means "Make America White Again." And sadly, there are too many people in this country that resonate with that message. That's what I think.
I can't stand that man, though. I hope he loses.
Well, I got to tell you, my friend, I hope he loses too. You and me are on the same boat there, my friend, and I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Gary. Gary is next up on PTL. What's up, Gary?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Good. First of all, it's the first time you're calling on your show, and I enjoy your show. I think you need a little more time than the time that you had.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And my hat goes off to you to sit here day in and day out and listen to these MAGA supporters of Trump. And I come to believe there's nothing you're going to say that's going to change their vote or change their mind. They just don't believe in the truth.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I call them just Trump toilet paper, to be honest.
Well, that's really what they are, and it's unfortunate that we live in a day and an age today where there are so many people that support a rapist felon. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. And these people that write their books, like Candace Owens, I would use her book as toilet paper, quite frankly. I mean, these people that,
very much.
Charlie Kirk's another one. He's in town Thursday. It just really it blows my mind, man. I know there's always going to be stupid people in this country. I just didn't think there were so many of them. That's all.
And I do believe Harris is going to win these polls. They're one way or the other, but I do feel there's more good in this world than bad, and she will prevail. But Brian, one of the reasons I wanted to call today was I'm a little concerned of what Elon Musk is up in Pennsylvania doing. But want to know how you feel about that, and is the law looking into any of this? I know they can
good question, and I'm probably gonna dive more into that tomorrow. But that's a really good question. Yes, I do believe what Elon Musk is doing is against the law. Now, it would be one thing if he paid people just to sign a petition, but it's another thing when he's pressuring people to sign up and vote for a specific candidate. I believe that is against the law, and Republicans out there and MAGA Republicans want to use the term, election interference. Make no mistake about it. That's exactly what Elon Musk is doing. I appreciate the call. All right, before we take a break, one more segment coming up next, and we're going to be talking about Trump once again lying about transgenders and transgenderism in schools. We'll talk a little bit about that. Please check out the new website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. This is an independently owned radio show. We rely on good people like yourselves to support what we do here. Check out the new website. You can sign up for my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. That's free. Sign up for the newsletter. We sell merchandise up there, shirts, hats, T-shirts, you name it. We sell it at affordable prices. There's also a donate button right on that front page. And it doesn't matter whether it's $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month. We appreciate your support. Please check it out, pushingthelimits.live. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Donald Trump once again is lying. This time it's about transgenders in our public schools. We'll talk about that when we come back, and we'll take some more phone calls at 702-221-7283. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Fight, 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 fight.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley for mayor.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yousafzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. John Ralston will be joining us from the Nevada Independent tomorrow. Ron Quince will be joining us in studio, running for Congress, so a busy show tomorrow. The Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, will be joining us on the show Thursday, and many more special guests throughout the remainder of the week. Please check out the official gaming bar of the Pushing the Limits radio show, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. If you earn 350 points on Sunday playing a slot machine from noon to 8 a.m., you're going to earn $50 in free slot play. Of course, they also have the Pass the Puck contest during Vegas Golden Knights game. Great food, great atmosphere. Tell them I sent you. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. So I wanted to play this audio for you, if I may, because Donald Trump has been pushing out more lies. In this case, the potential winner of the election for the most powerful job on the planet is claiming that public schools are performing sex change operations so that your child can leave in the morning one gender and return as the other gender. Folks, I'm not making this up. Have a listen to this.
Mr. President. Thank you.
So, Mr. President, yes. I have a 5-year-old son that's in public schools right now. I have a lot of people asking me questions as far as the failing school systems that we have here in the Bronx.
Yeah.
What are we going
They're
to
failing.
What are we going to do to improve that in our school systems?
Well, we're moving them back from Washington, where you have people that don't care about New York, frankly. You know, in Washington, I don't know if you ever noticed this, you go Department of Education, Department of Education. You got half the buildings are Department of Education. I never saw. You don't need any of them. You know, I want one person and a secretary to just make sure they're teaching English, okay? Give her a little English, okay? I say reading, writing, and arithmetic. No transgender, no operations. You know, they take your kid. There are some places, your boy leaves the school, comes back, a girl, okay? Without parental consent. What is that all about? That's when they talk about a threat to democracy, they're a threat. Could you imagine, without parental consent? At first, when I was told that was actually happening, I said, you know, it's an exaggeration. No, it happens. It happens. There are areas where it happens. We're not going to let it happen. But we are going to straighten out a lot. What we're going to really do, though, is give you a lot of jobs and a great economy, and you're going to be able to straighten yourselves out.
It's a blatant lie. Once again, I know this will shock some of you. Donald Trump is lying. Let me be very clear. There is zero evidence, let me repeat, Zero evidence that schools in this country are sending children into gender-affirming surgeries without their parents knowing or performed gender-affirming surgeries on site. Trump's own presidential campaign could not provide a single example this week of this ever happening. Even in states where gender-affirming surgery is legal for people under the age of 18, parental consent is required before a minor can undergo such a procedure. Those are facts. Donald Trump is lying, and his stupid, gullible Antonio Brown types are believing him. I'm sure Antonio Brown believes it. I'll be clear again. Trump is making it sound like you drop your kid off at school and they come home a different gender. There's not one case of that happening in this country because it's not happening and it's not true. You have to have parental consent. It's not true. It's a lie. But Donald Trump isn't talking about the economy. He has no plan for the future. And while Kamala Harris is talking about down payments on homes, entrepreneurs, when Kamala Harris is talking about gun violence and what she wants to do as far as that's concerned, when she's talking about inflation, she's talking about Israel and not saying she'll end things with the flip of a finger, snap of a finger. She's talking about those issues. She's talking about abortion. She's talking about women's health rights. What's Donald Trump talking about? He's talking about the size of Arnold Palmer's penis. He's making up lies about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. He's claiming that public schools are performing transgender surgeries. You drop your kid off at school and then they come home a different gender. One candidate is a serious candidate who cares about the American people. I truly believe that in Kamala Harris. The other candidate is somebody who only cares about himself, who wants to stay out of prison. We all have a very important decision to make if you haven't already. I've made mine. And I hope you will make yours. Number to call, 702-221-7283 if you do want to be a part of the conversation. All right, let's see here. Who are we going to next? Let's go to Tez. Tez is next up on PTL. What's up, Tez?
Hey, what's up, Brian?
What's up, man? What's on your mind today?
Calling from Louisiana. Oh, God, you just covered so much. Let me just start with, if I gave you a list of 100 people that I wanted to put on the campaign trail, you'd have been smarter to pick a hand puppet than Antonio Brown.
You're right about that,
I
my
guess
friend.
that's number one.
You're right.
Two, I wasn't aware that we had surgical centers in our public school system. But
yeah, neither was
apparently
I.
you and I were wrong because
Yeah.
they're doing surgeries.
Yeah, according to Trump, they are. His followers
maybe they're
believe
even doing
it.
them on school buses. I mean, maybe they're doing the express version, right?
Yeah, well, I guess, I don't know. I guess Marjorie Taylor Greene takes a lot of school buses to Washington, D.C. I don't know.
No, and look, they've got no cards left, as you always say. He's got no policy. They got caught playing the race card, which they've been playing the race card the whole time anyway. So they thought they would find someone who would possibly reflect the fact that they're not doing that. They failed miserably because they're still playing the race card. And, you know, when your audience's intellectual capacity will fit in a thimble, you can say crazy stuff like people are eating dogs and they're doing surgeries in our public school systems.
These are very stupid people. I'm done being nice. Not that I ever was with some of these people, but I've always said that if people are ignorant, maybe people are not as gifted as others, I can deal with that as long as it doesn't affect my life. But these people are affecting our lives with their hatred and their bigotry towards the trans community, those who are gay. These people are homophobic. With these people when it comes to not trusting women with what to do with their own bodies. The ignorance in this country with some of these people are affecting our daily lives, and I've had it. I've had enough.
No, and from way it looks like from early voting, not only is a woman going to be elected, but it looks like women voters are going to save the country. So bravo, ladies.
Boy, I got to tell you, my friend, I hope you're right. I really do. I hope you're right. Let's hope for that. And I appreciate your call, my friend, and it's good to hear from you. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Dave. Hi, Dave. Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. I'm here in Rochester, New York.
All right. Way out
I've
there.
been to Las Vegas quite a few times, and I'm hoping to look you up when I come there sometime.
Please do, my friend. What's on your mind today?
Here's what's on my mind. Nasty labels, okay? My granddaughter made me tear off a label about Republicans or Donald Trump off the back of my car because she said, Papa, somebody's going to shoot you. And so I took it off because I didn't want to worry her. So here's my point. The MAGA people, the nasty labels flow off their tongue like a waterfall. Woke, snowflakes, Marxists, communists, brainwashed, fascists, etc. Okay, but if our side, I feel like I have to whisper everywhere I go, because I'm afraid that somebody's going to attack me if I say something against a Republican.
Right.
So here's my nasty label for the day, okay?
Okay.
If you leave I was a cook in the Army, okay? If you leave the lid off a garbage can, what happens?
Well, the garbage is going to fall out.
No. MAGAs start eating the garbage.
Oh, okay. Bottom feeders, yeah. I hear where you're going with that.
The flies lay their eggs, and I call them the MAGAs start eating the garbage. And that's what we have. We have a country of about, hopefully not half the people, who are eating the garbage that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth.
Yeah, listen, you're right about that. Listen, here's the thing, right? You don't have to stoop to their level. Now, I call some of these people buffoons and other names, but you don't have to stoop to their level. For example, I went to a Kamala Harris rally a few weeks ago, a Univision event, and I noticed there were about 20 protesters that were Trump supporters. I went in there and I tried to have civil conversations with some of them.
Yeah.
But when it's impossible and you can't record it, show their stupidity for the world to see. And then if they say Trump won the 2020 election and, I've got no answers for gun control, what about car accidents? These are the type of things they said to me. Then I go ahead and I just say, okay, you're obviously very stupid, but I always give them the opportunity. I don't assume that they're stupid. I give them the opportunity and I ask them questions. And then if they say things that are abundantly stupid, then I call them out for it. And I think that's probably the best way, at least for me, to handle it. I always give somebody the opportunity. If a conversation starts, they say, hey, I'm voting for Donald Trump. I don't call them names. I say, why? I want to learn from you. Why are you supporting Donald Trump? And then when we get into the weeds and, they're complicit, then it's very difficult for me to have a serious conversation with them. And then when they prove how stupid they are, I think it's important to call them out for it. Thank you for the call, sir. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Jack. Jack is next up on PTL. What's up, Jack?
Hey, Brian, what's going on, man?
Not much.
Hey, Pop-Pop's naming the same source, for eating the cats and dogs as far as the trans surgeries. He heard it on the internet. The 80-year-old guy surfing the internet. He heard it and figures, let me announce that to America.
Right.
I mean, it's just insane. Like, so enough of that. Arguing with these maggots, it's like playing chess with a pigeon, man. They knock all the pieces over, take a crap on the board, and then strut around like they won the argument.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah, I don't disagree.
It's insane.
Yeah.
We talked about the when Trump was on Fox and he was on the White Couch. In that interview, he goes into talking about the Department of Education, and they ask him about that, and he says, "We're just going to do away with it. We're going to do away with it." And Kilmeade says to him, "Well, then what happens if you have the criteria being set by the liberal state of California or whatever, and they start teaching about how this country was built on the backs of slaves on stolen land." And he's like, "Well, we just won't give the money, and we'll save half the money for." It's just insanity. Like this guy doesn't realize that what he depicts as what he thinks it should be a presidency is like a monarchy. Like he doesn't understand like the ramifications of that, and that's what they think. Like they think they're just going to take public schools and make them Catholic schools,
Right.
make them private schools, and it disgusts me, the entitlement of I used to be a religious person and I'm not anymore. And I don't push that on anybody. And everybody can, they can decide on their own or whatever. But to hear people like, you had Franklin Graham on today and Ben Carson.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about this is not a secular world. And
well, they can't. The problem is that they cannot separate church from state. They're incapable of doing so. They only see things through their lens and their religious beliefs. And listen, I want everyone to have their own religion and do whatever they want. Just don't push it on me. Don't push it on other Americans. They want to take away a woman's right to choose. They think everybody who's gay in this country is a sinner. They're the sinners. They're the bad people. They're the ones that judge others because they're not like them. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Jacqueline. Jacqueline is next up on PTL. Hi, Jacqueline. What's going on, man?
Hey, this is my second time calling in, and I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
I want to go back to the AB guy.
Sure. Antonio Brown. Yeah, the illiterate Antonio Brown. That's what I'm going to call him.
Yes. I don't know if Americans realize that not only him, but Trump himself, the man running for president, is not allowed in 38 different countries because they're felons.
Yeah.
China won't allow a felon in. Israel won't allow a felon in. Japan, New Zealand, Australia. How's he going to run the country if he's not allowed into these other countries?
Right, but here's the thing. You're speaking facts and logic. A guy like an Antonio Brown can't even read. I mean, you sound like a smart lady. You're logical. You're correct. How could somebody run the country when they can't even travel to certain other countries? Antonio Brown is completely unaware to what you are talking about, and so many of Donald Trump's supporters don't care. The guy could literally sodomize a child, and they would still support him. He could walk out with a Klan outfit to one of his Klan rallies, and they would still support him. My dear, they just don't care. And that's why you and I and others, like-minded individuals, have to do our part and vote and make sure that this SOB doesn't get anywhere near the White House ever again. Let's go to Beverly. Beverly is next up on PTL. What's up, Beverly?
Yes, hi. I love listening to your program.
Oh, thank you.
I cannot believe that there are so many people who are still falling for what the former man in office is saying.
Yeah.
To degrade anyone, let alone a woman who's running against him because he's insecure, is absolutely unfathomable. And I hope that there is a tsunami of blue votes for Vice President Harris, because she will be a better representation of what this country is, as opposed to what we are dealing with now.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Think.
I hope so, but I hope we get to see the first female president of all time. Beverly, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm worried. I'm optimistic, but I'm also worried, and that's why I have to keep doing what I'm doing. You have to keep doing what you're doing. We all have to get out and vote. But this is going to be a close election. I don't think anybody's running away with this thing, and that's how I feel right now. I don't know what's going to happen.
I wish it could be a runaway for the Democrats. I know that a lot of people, have concerns, and rightly so. But everything that's taking place right now is a result of what happened from 2016 to 2020.
No doubt. And I'm up against the clock. I'm sorry, dear. I got to go. But let's hope the only runaway will be Barron Trump when he finds out that his father is going to be going to jail. Anyway, we're up against the clock here, and we got to run. So here's what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what I'm going to start doing. We'll take some more phone calls tomorrow on the show. I want to give you a quick, brief rundown on what we're going to be doing here because we only have about a minute. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to have a guy on by the name of John Ralston. He's moderated presidential debates before. He works for the Nevada Independent. Great guy, really smart. Everybody keeps talking about Nevada, that it's going to be pushing to the right and it's going to turn red. John Ralston is great at answering that question, so he's going to be joining us. We'll talk to him about that tomorrow. Ron Kinsey is attempting to be your next congressman. He's running against Dina Titus. He's going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. We got Anthony Scaramucci that's going to be joining us on the show Thursday. And we have a beautiful young lady who is part of an organization that is anti-Donald Trump because Republicans and Donald Trump are trying to get rid of porn in this country. Yes, that's right, porn. So she's an OnlyFans model. Tillis is going to be joining us on Friday to talk a little bit about that. So check out my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. Subscribe. It's free. If you want to contact me, follow me on X, on Twitter, at PTL Radio Show. Check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. That's pushingthelimits.live. We're an independently owned show to keep the lights on. We rely on people like you. We sell merchandise on there, shirts, hats, beanies, tumblers, you name it, we sell it on there. If you don't want to buy merchandise, you could donate $5, $10, $20, whatever you can afford. Right on the front page, there's a donate button. We appreciate all of you very much. We're going to do it all again tomorrow, everybody, and I'm going to send my love to Antonio Brown, and maybe we'll go out for drinks tonight after the show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip.